There's a dude on TikTok that I saw. He had it was just random. I happened to see him, and he says, you know, Americans, you know, he said he traveled out of the country and then he came back and he found that he kind of felt like a lot of Americans are just kind of like children almost. You know, they're not really a lot of adults floating around in the, you know, out here in the U.S. And I don't know if I agree 100% with that idea, but he makes an interesting point, and I will say this from a money standpoint, which is this is what I'm going to actually focus on with this particular video. Is there are a lot of people, a lot of Americans out there who don't understand that your investments, you are not guaranteed. If you're making an investment, if you're doing something speculative, you are not guaranteed a profit from that. That includes your stock market portfolio. I've been over the 401k thing to death, right? I think I've beaten that topic into the ground. You are not entitled to a profit on that. You're not entitled to make money on that. In fact, you've agreed to lose money. So the same thing with real estate. The real estate bros out there who just, no, real estate always has to go up. No, it doesn't. That's childish to think so. You know, that's either that or you don't really care about actually having any kind of game or currency. You just want to have something that's only going to work for you. I used the analogy a long time ago. When you play with like other 6-7-year-old kids when you're a kid, you know, when you're like 6 or 7 and you play with a bunch of other 6 or 7-year-old kids, what happens is that there's always this idea of the new rule. Why? Because it's always, well, you know, usually the popular kids or the most petulant among them, well, they were losing, and so now we need to have a new rule so that they can win, right? Well, there is something to be said for that, because so to this guy's point, when he points this out, it's like, well, that's not exactly unfounded, right? I mean, think of how many people right now don't understand liquidity. Let me address this. I said I would address liquidity a long time ago, but I'm going to address it now in this because this is relevant. How do you get liquidity? Let's say you put all your money into the stock market. You put all your money in the stock market, you put it all into real estate, you put it into bonds or whatever it is that you did, right? And then you're like, oh my God, I need liquidity now. What does that mean you have to do to have liquidity? Well, it means you have to offset those. You have to sell that stuff that you put all your money into, right? Because now you need liquidity. And there is this very strange thing that has happened in the world. And it's been in the last 30 years where it used to be that if you needed liquidity and you had all your money in something, you had to lower the price and then sell it off so that you could get liquidity back, right? And then you had liquidity, you had liquid to go do something. Well, now it's like, well, oh no, there's no liquidity. Quick, print money and give it to a bunch of giant companies so that they don't have to lay people off. Because for whatever reason, people are entitled to a job at a company, as opposed to like, well, no, there's no such entitlement to any job. I don't care who you are. There's no such entitlement to having customers. You know, it's slow for me, right? In the customer business, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of customers beating my door down right now. No big deal. This is when I use the time to clean the crap off my roof and get all the leaves braked up and all the other shit, my Jeep lifted, you know, stuff like that. It's when you do all this stuff is when you don't really have a whole lot going on. And any business owner will tell you the same thing, right? When it's kind of slow, that's what you do. You do all the other shit that like, all right, good, I got all this time to do this. You go to the gym, right? I'm working on it. So that's a different story entirely. Anyway, but you're not entitled to liquidity. So traditionally, what would happen is if you needed liquidity, what you would have to do is you have to sell something off, and you have to sell it at a progressively lower and lower price, and that's how you would get liquidity. And then who would buy it, right? Who would buy the stuff that you were selling? Well, that's the guys who had liquidity, right? These are the people these are your savers, right? And so this is that balance between investment and savings. So the savers out there would say, oh, well, I've got liquidity, but I don't have enough money to pay, you know, $400,000 for that 322 shit box. I'm not paying you 400 grand for that place. I'll give you 85, you know, cash. We'll be closed in 3 days, but I'm not giving you $400,000 because you're out of your fucking mind. That's how you got liquidity. You lost money, right? You were not entitled to make money. You were not entitled to a return. it's hard for me not to laugh at some of this stuff because, the more I think about that, just even right now doing this video, thinking about that guy with his video about like, look, there's no adults in the U.S. and it's like, man, dude, I got to tell you, I mean, the more I think about it, it's like that is kind of fucked up when you really think about it in these terms because, why exactly? Let me compose myself here, okay? So, suffice it to say, this idea is that, well, okay, that everybody's entitled to a return on these investments. That is just simply not true. It's not. I know I've said this recently. You think I haven't had to run a sale on product in my stores back when I had, retail stores? You think like, oh my gosh, I need liquidity, quick, lower the prices. That was normal, right? That's just how business operates. And so right now we have this liquidity trend. No, it's okay. So there's like, well, but there's not enough liquidity because everybody put all their money into this stuff. Yes, that means that the handful of people, seriously, the bare handful of people who are out here who do have liquidity, right? Those of us out here who do have liquidity, we're not going to pay all these ridiculous, like we're just not. We're not going to pay all this. So you can either print money and, continue down this road of, petulant nonsense and, and destroy the currency and take the rest of the country with it, open the borders wide fucking open. You can do all of that, or you can be adults and take your lumps like every other businessman has taken his lumps for, anybody who's done this for a little while. Every guy I know that has really truly been in business for a long period of time. I don't mean just they give it a try for like a summer or something, but guys who've been doing this for a long time. They've all lost money. They've all lost money. They've all eaten crow on many occasions, and so they know, and that's why they don't do it again. That's why they're not involved in a lot of this stuff anymore. They're watching from the sidelines, going, okay, well, we're either going to destroy the country, or prices are going to come down. That's it. It's one or the other. And right now we're going to go for destroy the country because, well, we want to keep the petulant kids, the 6-year-olds that are just pissing and moaning about constantly wanting new rules. We're going to keep those assholes happy for the time being anyway. I mean, until this all falls apart. So, liquidity, how many people do you suspect have $1,000 in cash? It's available right now that assuming that if they had it in the bank account or in their pocket or in their safe or something like that in actual cash, we're using dollars here. I'm not going to, we're just going to use stuff that you guys understand. How many people have $1,000 statistically? 60%? Let's say it's 60%. I don't think it's even that much, but let's say it's 60%. Okay, let's times that by 10. How many people have $10,000 in liquid cash? That they don't have to like sell stock, they don't have to sell a piece of real estate, they don't have to like go into their 401k, they don't have to go borrow it. No, how many people have $10,000? And that doesn't include credit cards. Okay, we're not talking about credit cards. How many people have $10,000 in liquid cash? I tried to look it up, and you can't find any good reliable data on it because it always talks about people's 401ks and IRAs. It doesn't say anything about liquid cash because not many people probably have $10,000. Let's say it's 6%, 60 or point, or let's say it's 6%. Okay, have $10,000 in actual cash in their bank, assuming their bank would give it to them if they went there, and the bank didn't say, we're not going to give you this $10,000. I'm assuming we didn't have that. How many people have $100,000 in liquidity, in actual cash, just like sitting around the house, in their safe, in their pocket, in their bank account, assuming the bank will give it to them? How many people have $100,000 in liquid cash? It's probably not even a percentage. It's probably not even 1%. How many with $1 million? You could probably start naming them. That's how few people probably have $1 million, because most people aren't as rich as you think they are. A lot of actors and celebrities and so forth, a lot of these people aren't really as rich as you think they are. There was a Josh Brolin interview where he was talking about, he got a royalty check and started crying because he's like, oh my God, this totally saved my bacon, because he was completely broke. And this is a big actor. This is he's a big name. And I'm not picking on the guy. I'm honestly, I'm not picking on anybody. I certainly don't pick on people's finances. I'm just pointing out that a lot of people aren't as rich as you think they are. Right? I mean, if only, right? If only you were as rich as everybody thought you were, right? It's sort of like grandparents, back in the day, that everybody thought grandparents were rich. That's how liquidity works. You're supposed to sell off. You're supposed to lose money. That's how it's supposed to work.